Who is piloting the UAPs or UFOs constantly seen in our skies? Where are they from? Why are they here? How long have they been here? What is their mission on planet Earth? Do they come in peace, or do they have more sinister motives? Join Mad Mark as he uncovers the answers to these questions and many more of the mysteries that puzzle us all on Who Are the Aliens? The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. And now, here's Mad Mark.
Today's episode, Earth's Greatest Epic, continues as Enki relates the stories of the Anunnaki's early days on planet Earth, the start of the gold mining operations, and the establishment of Iridu, the first city. Hello everyone, and welcome to Who Are the Aliens? The history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. I'm Mad Mark, and before I begin, just a quick reminder to please like, share, and comment. It helps so much. Today we continue our studies of Zecharia Sitchin's 9th book, The Lost Book of Enki, published by Simon & Schuster in 2001. When we concluded episode 27, Iridu had landed on planet Earth and had discovered that it was indeed rich in the gold that the Anunnaki needed to save their planet's atmosphere. He had proven that his story was true and now demanded to be reinstated as King of Nibiru before any further actions would be taken. Enki tells us, "Now that proof has been delivered, declare me king. Bow to my command," Iridu demanded. The assembly on Nibiru was in disarray. How should they move forward? And then I, at that time known as Ea, firstborn son of Anu and husband to Iridu's daughter Damkina, stood to speak. "Let me be the one to bring unity to this conflict. Let me take a ship to Earth to obtain the precious gold. Give Iridu the title of King of Earth, and if Iridu persists in his demands to be reinstated as King of Nibiru, let he and my father Anu wrestle for it a second time. The princes, the counselors, the sages, and the commanders listened to my words and found wisdom in them." "Let it be so," Anu announced. "Let Ea journey to Earth. Let the gold there be tested, and I shall wrestle Iridu for a second time to determine kingship of Nibiru." A message was then sent to Iridu on Earth informing him of the council's decision, and he agreed. "Let Ea, my son by marriage, come to Earth. Let him gather samples of gold to be tested on Nibiru, and let Anu and I once again wrestle for kingship of Nibiru." I hastened to the place of the space chariots to consult with the commanders and the sages. A dangerous journey this would surely be, and much planning would be necessary. An entire shar passed while preparations were made, and the largest ship in the fleet was refitted specifically for this mission. The flight path was calculated, and a tablet of destiny was firmly affixed. A crew of 50 men was selected to begin operations on Earth. A date for launch was selected, and Anu gave his approval. When that day finally arrived, a large crowd gathered to bid farewell to their heroes. I was the last crew member to board the ship, but before doing so, I knelt before my father to receive the king's blessing. "My son, my firstborn," he stated, "a far and perilous journey lies ahead of you. I wish you success, and may you return safely to Nibiru." Even Enlil locked arms with me and wished me success. Then, with a heavy heart, I entered the ship and gave the order to launch. Now here is the account of the journey to the 7th planet, and how the legend of the fish god who came from the waters originated. Although I was to be commander on the Earth mission, I was not the commander of the flight. That job rested on Anzu, whose name meant he who knows the heavens. He had been specifically selected for this mission. One by one, we passed the outer planets of the solar system until the ominous asteroid belt, or as we refer to it, the hammered bracelet, lie dead ahead. Unlike Alelu's voyage, where he used a blaster to clear a path through the ominous asteroids, we chose to use a water cannon. And, on my orders, the water cannon was fired and a path was cleared. It was not quite as simple as it may sound here, but we were successful. A path was cleared, and soon we had passed through the asteroid belt unharmed. But, amidst the cries of joy from the crew upon our success, Anzu quickly sounded the alarm. It seems that the excessive amount of water used to clear the asteroids from our path had drained our supply, and there was not enough left to continue to cool the fiery stones used to power our ship. Just then, the planet Mars, or as we call it, Lamu, came into view. I yelled at Anzu, "There is water on Lamu. Can you bring us down for a landing?" Skillfully, Anzu brought us into orbit around Mars. The planet's gravitational pull is not that strong. I should be able to land quite easily, he stated. A beautiful sight to behold was Mars in those days, a colorful planet with white snow caps at both poles. The land gave off a reddish hue, and in its midst, lakes and rivers glittered. Anzu landed our ship by the side of a lake, and he and I donned our spacesuits and helmets and stepped out of the ship and onto the ground of Mars. It was a quick trip, just long enough to replenish our water supply and take a few readings. The water was good for drinking, but the air was not sufficient to breathe. I recorded our findings in the ship's log, and we soon departed Mars. And on towards Earth we soared. We sat in silence at the untouched beauty of Earth as we drew near, and before we knew it, we were in Earth's atmosphere. Suddenly, Anzu broke the silence. "Earth's atmosphere is much thicker than that on Mars. We must slow down the ship or we will surely perish," he screamed. "Make slowing circles around the moon," I suggested. As we passed close to Earth's companion, we could see that it was heavily scarred from the celestial battle that had resulted in the creation of Earth. Once we had reduced our speed sufficiently, we entered Earth's atmosphere and made 2 passes around the planet. We could see that at this point in time, Earth was still experiencing its last ice age, and thick ice and snow covered 2/3 of the planet's surface. But around its middle region lay the dark-hued land and the clear blue oceans. We searched for Alelu's signal beacon and finally found it in an area where 4 rivers were swallowed by marshes. It was the land that we would soon make our earthly home, Sumer. "The ship is too heavy to land in a marsh," Anzu declared, "and Earth's gravity is too strong to set down on the land." "We must splash down," I demanded. "Splash down in the nearest ocean." As soon as we had landed, a voice came over our ship's radio. "Welcome to Earth." It was the voice of Alelu. Anzu guided the ship through the water until it reached the marshlands where Alelu awaited us. We all donned our spacesuits and opened the ship's hatch. With strong ropes, the crew pulled us towards the shore. We spotted Alelu's ship resting there on the banks of the marsh. I embraced my father-in-law, Alelu. "Welcome to a different planet," he smiled, "and that is how I arrived on Earth for the first time." Now, this is the account of how Eridu, the first city on Earth, was established and how the count of 7 days originated. After Alelu and I embraced, our faces streaming with tears of joy, I bowed to him out of respect. In the distance, my crew was anchoring the ship and making their way ashore. When everyone finally arrived, they all bowed to Iridu, and then I spoke. This first Earth mission has been a success under my command, but we have much more to accomplish. Nibiru's fate lies in our hands. The crew then began setting up camp, while I sent a quick message off to Anu back on Nibiru, informing him that we had safely landed on the Earth. But as soon as I had accomplished that, I was startled by a great change in the skies above us, something never seen on Nibiru. The sky was turning a reddish color, and the sun was disappearing on the horizon. At first, we were seized by fear. Was this some sort of a calamity? We had never witnessed anything like this before. Noticing our panic, Iridu spoke up. "It is merely the sun setting. Your first day on Earth has come to an end. I suggest that we all get some rest. A night on Earth is extremely short. Soon it will be morning, and another day will begin." The night not only brought darkness, but a thunderstorm moved in as well. The crew was visibly agitated by the differences between the life they had known on Nibiru and what they were experiencing here on Earth. Soon it was morning, and then night again, and then morning again. The shortness of days here was something that we would need to adjust to. I assigned various tasks to the crew and then set off with Iridu to explore this new planet. I had so many questions for Iridu regarding the vegetation on this new planet. What was edible and what was not? We would need food supplies to sustain us. By the fourth day, the winds had died down enough for us to bring tools from the ship to assist us in building our encampment. I assigned various tasks to the crew in order to speed up the process. We constructed traps from cane brakes and reeds for catching fish, and snares to capture the various edible birds. We surveyed the land to distinguish which animals were good for food. By the sixth day, our temporary abodes had been completed, as well as a fence which surrounded our encampment. On the seventh day, I gathered the crew together and spoke to them. "We have completed our journey from Nibiru to Earth," I exclaimed, "and in 6 days we have built a worthy encampment and gathered much food and supplies. Let this, the seventh day, be a day of rest. From here on, let the seventh day always be designated as a day of rest. Henceforth, this encampment we have created shall be known as Iridu, meaning home in the faraway. And from this day forward, let Iridu be its commander." The crew all cheered in agreement. The following day, I set about the task of doing what we had been sent here to do, the true purpose of our mission on Earth, obtaining gold from the surrounding rivers and streams. We repurposed the ship to serve as a massive vacuum cleaner. A huge tube was utilized to suck up all the metal stones from the rivers into the cargo hold of the ship. For 6 days, we basically vacuumed rocks from the rivers into the ship, and spewing the excess water back into the rivers. On the 7th day, Iridu and I examined the various metals that we had collected. There was plenty of iron and copper, but not much gold. The metals were separated and transported back to shore. We repeated this process again the following week, and again the results were the same. Plenty of minerals that we did not need, and very little of the precious gold, which was the reason for our toil. We continued this process for an entire Earth year, and at the end, the accumulation of gold was insufficient to help save Nibiru. Next, we tried moving our mining operations off from the coastline and into the ocean. In this way, we were able to extract more gold than we had obtained in the rivers, and at first, we were hopeful. I even sent a message back to Anu on Nibiru that our situation was improving. Our home planet's orbit had brought it back amongst the other planets, and it was once again nearing the sun. It would be the perfect opportunity to send a shipload of gold back to Nibiru. Anu contacted me regarding our progress, but once again I had to disappoint him. Our bounty was still insufficient. We agreed to let one more Shar pass before Anu would send a cargo ship to retrieve the gold. At least we should have double the amount by that time. But in my heart, I knew it was futile. We were not extracting nearly enough gold from Earth's waters. I had to come up with a better plan. I instructed Abgal, meaning he who knows piloting, to use parts of our ship to construct a much smaller shuttlecraft type vehicle, something that I could use to make short surveillance type journeys to various parts of Earth. I knew the gold was here. I just had to find it. Daily, Abgal and I would take to the skies and survey the planet and take readings. Where on earth was Tiamat's gold veins? As another Shar passed and Nibiru once again neared Earth's vicinity, impatience back home was growing. Anu demanded that we send whatever gold we had accumulated. Something was better than nothing. I was instructed to repair Alelu's ship and get it ready for the mission of bringing the gold to Nibiru. But before I could do that, I had one dark deed to perform first. I had no idea why the fates were demanding that I do this task. I only knew that it had to be done. The following evening, after Abgal and I returned from yet another survey mission of Earth, the two of us left our shuttlecraft and made our way to Alelu's ship. In the cover of darkness we worked. We removed the remaining 7 weapons of terror from Alelu's ship and placed them back in my shuttlecraft. The next day, unbeknownst to the others, who thought we were simply heading out on another survey mission, we took to the skies to find the perfect location to hide these 7 weapons of mass destruction. On another of Earth's continents, we hid them, in a small cave in the side of a mountain. In that secret place, I hid those weapons. In a place unknown, I stored them. When we returned to Eridu, I gave the command to Abzu to begin repairs on Alelu's ship, to prepare it for the journey to bring the gold back to Nibiru. But being the skillful engineer he was, Anu soon discovered that the 7 deadly weapons were missing. Without them, the mission to Nibiru is doomed, he cried. How can the ship make it safely through the asteroid belt without them? I explained to him that the fates had determined that I hide them away somewhere here on Earth, that they will be needed in the future. Their use has been foreseen. I know not why, but neither in the heavens nor on firm lands shall they ever be harnessed. Abgal volunteered to pilot the ship back to Nibiru. The dangers I shall valiantly face, he exclaimed. Thus the decision was made. Abgal would pilot the ship filled with Earth's gold back to Nibiru. The rest of us would remain here. Back on Nibiru, the various scientists were working hard, calculating the most opportune day for us to launch Abgal and the gold we had accumulated. In the meantime, we were busy loading the gold onto Alelu's ship and preparing for launch. When the day finally arrived, Abgal entered the ship and took his seat at the controls. He fired up the engines, and I handed him the Tablet of Destinies, better known as a flight plan. It shall be that which shows the way for you, I stated. By it, the opened pathway you shall find. Alelu and I bid farewell, and moments later, the ship rose to the heavens. News of the successful launch was radioed back to Nibiru, where the people waited with much anticipation. Alelu's ship, with Abgal at the controls, made a pass around Kingu, or what you call the moon, to pick up speed. 1,000 leagues, 10,000 leagues. He steered the ship toward Mars, or as we call it, Lamu. As he passed Mars Lamu, he saw the hammered bracelet, or as you call it, the asteroid belt, lying dead ahead. Abgal inserted the flight plan that I had given him into the ship's computer, and the crystals came to life, showing him the safest path through. The fates were with us that day as the ship passed through the hammered bracelet unscathed. Success! Upon exiting the asteroid belt, radio contact with Nibiru was again established. Ahead, in the darkness, a reddish hue glowed. Nibiru, a sight to behold, it was. And Mission Control guided him in. The ship made 3 circuits around Nibiru to decrease speed before entering the planet's thick atmosphere. Abgal deployed the ship's wings and gently touched down. The mission was a success. Abgal and the gold were home. A huge crowd had gathered to welcome their hero. King Anu was the first to greet him. "Salvation is here," he announced to the gathered crowd. Abgal was then rushed to the palace for some much-needed rest and to relay all of the details of his first historic mission to Earth. In the meantime, with much haste, was the precious cargo unloaded. The shiny gold would be promptly ground into the finest dust and launched by rockets into the planet's damaged atmosphere. It took 1 complete shar for all of this work to be accomplished and for the gold to be put into place. But almost immediately upon its placement, the breach in Nibiru's atmosphere began to show signs of healing. There was much rejoicing throughout the land as this long-awaited news reached the people's ears. With much joy in his voice, King Anu radioed back to us here on Earth. "Gold gives salvation!" His voice was fraught with excitement. "The obtaining of gold must continue." But alas, the excitement was short-lived, because the very next time that Nibiru approached the sun, the gold dust became disrupted by its heat, and the breach in the atmosphere began to widen once again. "Prepare another cargo ship to Earth," King Anu demanded. "More gold is needed." Abgal was sent back, and this time more men and equipment accompanied him. There was much rejoicing on Earth when Abgal returned to Iridu. I inspected the equipment that had been sent with him, and there was a smile on my face, but a squeezing in my heart, for I knew that continuing in our attempts to extract the gold from Earth's waters was futile. Another shar passed, and yet another disappointing load of gold being shipped back. King Anu would undoubtedly be discouraged by the lack of bounty it contained. I consulted with Iridu. If, during the celestial battle that created this planet, Earth is indeed the severed head of the planet Tiamat, then where is the neck? I pondered. Where are the gold veins? They must be here. But where are they hiding? I continued my daily scans of Earth's land masses in my ship, but again and again I got the same negative readings. And then it came to me. Where land from land was torn apart, Earth's innards would be revealed. The gold would be found in areas of the planet that were ripped open. What I was looking for was a canyon, and I had seen such a place in my journeys. The place where the landmass resembled a heart. In its southern regions there were several canyons. I immediately steered my ship towards South Africa, where, after just a few scans, I found it. Golden veins from Earth's innards were abundant here. I decided to name this place the Abzu, or the birthplace of the gold. I couldn't wait to inform King Anu. "Dear father," I said unto him, "the earth is indeed filled with gold, but it must be obtained from the veins of the earth, not from its waters. I have named this land the Abzu, and the supply of gold there is indeed plentiful." Everyone at the palace was astonished. They were all excited at my news. But there was great debate over how to obtain the gold from the bowels of the earth. Sucking it up from the ocean was one thing, but removing it from the land would be much more difficult. During these debates, Enlil, my half-brother, Prince of Nibiru and heir to the throne, spoke up. First, Iridu and then my brother Ea had assured us that the gold was present on Earth and easily accessible from its waters, said Enlil. They promised us Nibiru's salvation it would be. Now it is different words we are hearing. It seems that a massive undertaking will now be needed if their words are to be trusted. We require proof of these veins before we should move forward with this. Many in the assembly agreed with Enlil, and thus King Anu declared that Enlil would be sent to Earth to obtain proof of the gold and take command of the mission. And that is how my half-brother took over command of the Earth mission, after I had set everything up and got things running, established Eridu as our base of operations, and spent endless days searching the landscape of Earth for the veins of gold. He will now swoop in and steal all the glory. And so it was that Enlil and his chief lieutenant Algar departed Nibiru for planet Earth, each in his own ship. When the pair arrived on Earth, I welcomed my brother, but perhaps somewhat less than enthusiastically. Iridu followed suit and gave basically the same stoic greeting. Soon thereafter, we boarded crafts, Abgal and I in one, and Enlil and Algar in the other, and made our way towards the veins of gold that I had discovered in the Abzu. Once we arrived, a thorough investigation was undertaken. It appeared that the gold found on land was not as pure as the gold we found in Earth's waters. It was mixed with much soil and rock. We returned to Eridu to sift through all of the data that we had gathered. Once that was completed, Enlil again spoke. "This is going to be a massive undertaking," my brother exclaimed. "More men and supplies will be needed, and Eridu alone will not be suitable for a task of this size. Thus, more settlements will need to be built, and many more sky ships and vehicles will be needed. Constant supply ships to and from Nibiru will be needed as well. Thus, some sort of spaceport will need to be built. Who will command the mining operations in the Abzu? Who will command the various settlements? Who will command Iridu? These are decisions that will need to be made. Let King Anu come down to Earth. Let him make these decisions and divide up the command duties." And that is where I will leave you for this episode. Things are certainly getting intense. I hope you can agree that although we have covered this information before, these in-depth details being provided by Enki are certainly more intense and a lot more informative. So you have quite a lot to digest there, and we have so much more to cover and learn. I, again, am Mad Mark, and I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If so, please like, share, and comment. It helps so much. And please tell your friends and help spread the word about this show. If you have any questions regarding any of the content discussed on this program, just message me through madmarktv.com or on any of my social media platforms. Lastly, I would like to remind everyone that listening to this program is no excuse to not read the book that we have been discussing here, The Lost Book of Enki by Zecharia Sitchin. It is an amazing work. So do yourselves a favor and read that book. Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth is written and produced by me, Mad Mark. Today we have taken another step in our ongoing journey to discover the truth. I promise you, that things will get more and more interesting the further we delve into this topic of who are the aliens, the history of the Anunnaki on planet Earth. Peace to all of you, and remember to always walk in love. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Who Are the Aliens? The History of the Anunnaki on Planet Earth with your host, Mad Mark. Join us again on our next program when Mad Mark will once again uncover the answers to the mysteries that puzzle mankind.